PR Connections Radio presents. This episode of Thinking into Results is brought to you by Classy Communications PR and Advertising. Classy Communications provides public relations and marketing solutions for businesses, professionals, and nonprofit organizations. They can deliver the true meaning of your business with press releases, social media marketing, web development, email marketing, book publishing, and much more. Wherever your potential clients are, they can help you connect with them. Visit classycommunications.net to learn more about their suite of services that can help your business stand out from the rest. Classy Communications is your solution for business success.
I guess you can be very successful without one, and probably some people do. But I would not have accomplished anywhere near what I have accomplished without a mentor. I have had a number of mentors, and my whole life has changed dramatically. I went from going nowhere to having a business that operates all over the world. If you want to win in a big way, you want to get a mentor. It's almost like getting a direct pipeline from their mind to your mind, where you're gaining all their wisdom, all their experience, and all the studying that they've done over a number of years. And like that, you get it all in a short period of time. Are mentors important? Well, I'm going to tell you, mentors literally changed the course of my life. Let's take a look at what thinking into results is and what it could do for you, how it came about. You see, my life had changed dramatically. I went from earning nothing to earning over $1 million a year. And I was sitting one day and I was thinking, how did all this happen? Do you know, I was reading Think and Grow Rich. I was studying Earl Nightingale's material. But a lot of people have read those books and studied Earl's material. And they weren't accomplishing what I was accomplishing. So I had to ask myself, what am I doing so different? You see, I had been raised to believe if you're going to earn a lot of money, you've got to be really smart. I was earning over $1 million a year, and I didn't think I was that bright. I was also raised to believe if you don't go to school, you can't win. Well, I hadn't gone to school. I went to high school for about 2 months. I didn't have a good job. I owned the entire company. If you want to be happy, healthy, and prosperous, it's all here. Thinking into results is going to show you how to get it. If what I've said really triggered something in your mind and you're thinking maybe, contact the certified PGI consultant, hit the button, leave the information, do yourself a favor, sit down and talk to them about what this program can do for you. This very well could be the decision that will change the rest of your life.
Greetings. Thank you, Bob. And I'm Sid Maestri. I'm a consultant with Proctor Gallagher Institute in the Thinking and Results program. And my associate, John Gage, is my guest today. And we're going to talk about faith. And to back up a second, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. This is the foundation of this Thinking in the Results program and Bob's teaching. And he was reading this book every day for over 50 years. And people might say, why would you repeat it, read something multiple times? I discovered, let's say I was a senior citizen before I realized I could read something a second time and get more ideas. So I like to call it peeling the onion. And Bob had a big onion with Think and Grow Rich. Today we're talking about faith, and one of my favorite quotes of Napoleon Hill is, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve. So the missing thing, the silent ingredient there is faith. And John, would you like to share a few thoughts on faith?
Well, yeah. Bob was talking about his mentors, and he was talking about not being very bright. And I do remember this from the courses. Of course, I review them periodically, but he talked about not believing in himself, and his mentor had told him, but I have faith in you. Just run on my faith till you get your own. So, it's a pretty important ingredient if he's going to make that statement. So I kind of looked up what faith means, because most people were like, oh, faith, it's a religious word. So they don't understand, or some people don't really understand what kind of faith he's talking about. So I'm going to read a few definitions. And I'm actually going to start with the Google AI definition. It says complete trust or confidence in someone or something. That's pretty simple, but that's pretty, just laying it right out there. But Webster's has several different definitions of what faith is. And allegiance to duty or to a duty or to a person, fidelity to one's promises, and fidelity is the quality or state of being. Sincerity of intentions, firm belief in something for which there is no proof. Something that is believed, especially with strong conviction. The one that I think that we kind of run on is firm belief in something for which there is no proof. Because there's no proof that you're going to accomplish this big, scary goal. And so you have to have faith. And sometimes you have to run on other people's faith in order to get your own. I mean, Henry Ford, we wouldn't have the V8 if it wasn't for Henry Ford. I remember distinctly reading this one affected me, and I remember this from the very first time I've read the book. But he's like, he wants the V8. He's got a scientist working on it, and they come to him 6 months later, and they're like, we can't do this. And he's like, yes, you can. He says, I know it can be done. I will have it. Go back and make it happen. And 18 months later, we had the V8. And now I have a V8 sitting in my nice, big, beautiful truck. And I love my V8. Does it guzzle gas? Yes. Do I care? No. But faith is kind of like, the main ingredient. It's like a binder in cooking that brings everything together. And it works kind of like this. I'm going to read a poem if I may.
Please do. Well, actually, before you read it,
sure.
I have this written down. Faith leads to belief. And
yes.
Belief leads to action, which leads to knowing that you can do it or have it. And when you know you can do it, know you can have it, then you're expecting it. So faith leads to belief, belief leads to knowing, and knowing leads to expectancy. So with that, I turn it back to you, John, with
awesome.
Great little poem that we both love.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a great poem too. And it really kind of fits what we're talking about. If you think you are beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you'd like to win, but you think you can't, it's almost certain you won't. If you think you'll lose, you're lost. For out of the world we find, success begins with a fellow's will. It's all in the state of mind. If you think you are outclassed, you are. If you got to think high to rise, you've got to be sure of yourself before you can ever win a prize. Life's battles don't go to the stronger or fastest man, but sooner or later, the man who wins is the man who thinks he can.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome. Wonderful poem.
Just as an aside for our viewers, John, John is a trained voice actor, so he reads all our poems for us. I came across a story earlier today that's in the Thinking in the Results. Think and Grow Rich. I keep saying Thinking in Results all the time, but Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. And it was a story of the creation of U.S. Steel back around 1908. And Andrew Carnegie's steel company, that they were going to take it public. And it takes money for that. And he was invited to a dinner. It says there were 80 millionaires there. And he gives a 90-minute pitch that they can consolidate the steel industry with the best companies and take it public. And afterwards, the key financial man back at that time, early in the 19th century, was J.P. Morgan. He was like the money guy that could put deals together.
It kind of is still.
What is that?
It kind of is still J.P. Morgan Chase Bank.
Yes. And so they talk, and J.P. Morgan liked what he heard, and it was a vision that Charles Schwab, Andrew Carnegie's main man, and it's not the Charles Schwab that we know as the brokerage firm now. And they bought so they were selling, they were like going public, and they were taking Andrew Carnegie's company, which was the biggest one, and they were paying $400,000 for it. They put everything together,
million.
And they raised $1 million. They sold all the stock for $1 million.
Yeah, okay, that's what.
And it was all an idea in Charles Schwab's mind, and he had the faith that he could bring it about. So I like that story. And U.S. Steel, it became U.S. Steel, and for years they were the largest company in the United States.
And you know something funny, because Bob talks about mentors. Carnegie was a mentor of Henry Ford's. You know, because Henry Ford was sitting with masterminds with Carnegie and with Thomas Edison, and I mean, and well, a lot of people don't realize that Henry Ford was illiterate when he started these meetings. He didn't. I don't even remember what grade. I think he got to the third grade or something. He could barely read and write, and he had a vision. And somebody had faith in him, and he had faith that it could be done. It doesn't, you don't have to have an education to have faith. Faith is something that everybody is capable of. And winning, as it says, but sooner or later, the man who wins is the man who thinks he can.
John, you reminded you. Am I interrupting you?
No. I was just, I just wanted to point that out, because a lot of people think you do have to have education. You don't have to have any education to be successful. You just have to have all of these little things. You have to have an idea. You have to have a goal. You have to write it down. You have to make a plan. You have to have faith that it's going to happen. You have to believe it's going to happen, and you have to expect it's going to happen. That's the ingredients. And that's what I was trying to get across.
Thank you, John. I had something to share, but I had also written down something yesterday. Faith removes limitations, which is a very polite way to say overcomes negative thoughts. You ignore naysayers because you have faith. Everybody says you can't do it. You hold the faith. And it reminds me.
You have to live in the real world.
Yes. Well, it reminds me of how this little book came into being, Think and Grow Rich.
Oh, yeah.
Napoleon Hill was a cub reporter assigned. They were doing I guess, stories on successful people, and he was given the assignment to go see Andrew Carnegie, and they spent a lot of time together. And Andrew Carnegie had this idea that all the successful people around him, when they died, no one knew how they did it. And he went to Napoleon Hill to go interview, and he was going to give him an introduction to 500 people, and told him it was going to take him 20 years to do it, and he would have to support himself. And he gave Napoleon Hill didn't know it, but Andrew Carnegie had his watch below the desk, and he'd given Napoleon Hill 60 seconds to make a decision. In 29 seconds, he made the decision that he would do it. But he didn't. He was agreeing to do it, but he wasn't sure that whether he could believe that he could do it. But he wanted to try. And Andrew Carnegie said, "Well, I want you to write this down. Andrew Carnegie, I'm not only going to match your achievements in life, I'm going to challenge you at the post and pass you at the grandstand." And I've heard Napoleon Hill at CD, and he says, I threw my pencil down. And I said, I don't believe that. And then Carnegie says, I know you don't believe it, but I'd like you to read that twice a day, morning and night, in front of the mirror. Do that for 30 days. Can you do that? He says, I can do that. And first week, nothing was happening. At the end of 2 weeks, he started to see a little glimmer. By the end of 3 weeks, he was seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And after 30 days, he knew he could do it. He had faith that he could do it. He didn't know how he's going to do it, other than he's going to interview people. And he spent 20 years putting together this little book. Sold over 100 million copies around the world. And I don't know that, I think it'd be rare to find a successful business person that hasn't read this book. Not that it doesn't apply to everything in your life, but it was in the business community that the book was being shared. So, John, let's get back to faith.
Okay. Well, that took a lot of faith on Napoleon Hill's part. See, that's what a lot of people, when you start breaking success down and how it works, there are a lot of individual parts. It's like accomplishing a big task. How do you accomplish a big task? Or it's like, well, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. A task, accomplishing your goals, the same thing. I do one thing today that's going to move me a millimeter closer to my goal. I do one thing tomorrow that's going to move me a couple of millimeters. You're constantly moving that, moving towards that, and it takes faith to do that because it can become disappointing. It can become discouraging, and you need that faith. Yes, I believe, and because you got to build, like you said, you got to build the faith in the belief, and the belief in the expectation, because it's that subconscious mind that really draws out all of the necessary what's the word I'm looking for? The necessary steps that are required to accomplish your goal. And that takes having the faith in it, because when you start a goal that scares the ever living daylights out of you, you have a 360 degree direction you can go. You don't know which step that's going to be. You just have to take a step. And that requires faith.
I think we talked about that the other day, that the first step on a goal is writing it down.
Mm-hmm.
And just real quickly, when we covered on previous goal setting, we believe there's three types of goals: A, B, C. A goal, you know you can do it. The B goal, you think you can. You're putting a plan together, and you think you can, but often some roadblock comes up, challenge, and you let it go. But the C goal, those are the I call it the big enchilada. That's normally a dream that you've had for a long time. In fact, you used to share it with family and friends, and of course, they were very supportive. Not that's a sort of a rule of thumb. If you have a great idea, don't tell your friends or your family, because they haven't seen you having that kind of success.
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh, come on, be real. We live in the real world." I don't know how many times I've heard that.
Yes.
We live in the real world. Okay, but what about the guy over there that's successful doing it already? Isn't he in the real world too, or is that a different world? So it's one of those things that you're like, okay, but he's successful, and if he's successful, why can't I be successful? Well, we live in the real world, and it just doesn't happen to people like us. People in the real world, it doesn't happen. So what world is he from? I'll just go join it.
Yes.
And I finally did, because I finally found what world that is, and it's thinking into results.
John, getting back to the C goal, and we talk about that of not knowing how you're going to do it.
Oh, sure.
And that's where the faith comes in. And I'm going to say the process of writing the goals. John gave you the what we call the 6 steps. What do you want? When do you want it? What are you going to give for it? Product or service? What's your plan? What your plan is right then. Plans will change, but wherever you're at, you write your plan, put it all together in a story, and then read it in front of the mirror morning and night, similar to what Napoleon Hill did. And it's the repetition. It's the repetition that is reprogramming, let's call it your paradigm, your habitual habits, how you do things and think. And you're planting a new idea into your subconscious. And the subconscious cannot reject whatever you're telling it. If it's a bad idea, it'll accept the bad idea. That's why we want to stay positive.
Right. Well, exactly. Well, and even in the Bible, it says works without faith mean nothing. With faith, you can move mountains. And that speaks volumes of what faith really does to a person's personality and a person's mindset. If you have enough faith and you can move a mountain with that faith, then that's got to be a key ingredient in anything you do. Even though it may take longer, but things are going to happen. I've learned that when bad things start happening to you, you're probably on the right path. But I mean, you've attested those things to me before. So I know that if things start happening that throw roadblocks up, because your subconscious is still fighting it, so it wants to revert back to where it's comfortable, and you're throwing it out of its comfort zone so much that it's starting to throw a few roadblocks in the way to get you to take the easy path. And I think in the simplest terms I can put it, faith is the glue that holds everything together so that your goal is accomplished. It's what's going to keep you motivated. It's what's going to keep you positive when things go wrong. It's what's going to cause your mind to work to find a different solution if the plan isn't working. So even when you believe,
Very good.
even when you develop belief and expectation, you still have to have faith, and it's the underlying base. It's your base, your cornerstone for building. Because without faith, you're going to give up, and that's when you truly fail. And that's what this poem says. You know, sooner or later, the man who wins is the man who thinks he can.
Thank you, John.
He
I've got a couple things to share. When you talk about the roadblocks, I use an expression that when we're going after a goal and everything's going smooth, that's great. And then you hit an obstacle and you want to quit. And I say, when you hit the obstacle, that's the best part of it, of pursuing a goal, because you get to learn from it. Mm-hmm. You get to give it another perspective. Because the purpose of our goals, not our to-do list, but our goals, the big goals, is to grow. And it's who you become on the journey. You reach a big goal, you got more confidence. You're ready to go for something bigger and better.
You know what they tell you to do here in the South?
Tell me.
Just put that puppy in 4 low and push through it.
Say that again.
Just put that puppy in 4 low and push through it. If you have a 4-wheel drive truck, you'll understand that statement.
Thank you.
Because 4 low has a bottom end torque. 4 low in my truck, I can drive over rocks, big, huge rocks in 4 low.
Thanks for sharing that, John. I have a sort of a little poem I want to read. And it's about commitment. And I've read this before, but I like to read it. And if you missed out, if this is your first viewing of our show, until one is committed, there's hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. Concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans. And that is the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. All sorts of things occur to help one that would never otherwise have occurred. A whole stream of events issues from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents and meetings and material assistance, which no man could have dreamt would come his way. And if you look back on your life, ideas come to you, you read a book, you meet somebody, gives you a suggestion, and it moves you in another direction, closer towards your goal. Often you're not clear on your goal, then all of a sudden you hear somebody say something and you're motivated. I'm looking at our time here real quick, like when Bob was doing his goal card at the beginning with Think and Grow Rich, he put $25,000 on it, and he didn't know how he was going to get it. He had faith that Ray, his mentor, believed in him, and he started hearing things about making money. And he heard someone say there's money making cleaning offices. And in Bob's words, he says, "I'm not proud. I went and bought the bucket and mops and got one of those machines for waxing the floors, and in a couple of years was making $1 million a year." It all started
$970, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
With $970 in product. Yeah.
Okay. I don't see the website, but you want to go to there's sidmastery.com. Go to the website. There's a lot of information there with Bob and the Thinking Results program, and you can leave a message. Email me. Would love to sit down and chat with you. Help you with your goals. Get clear on your goals, and whatever a mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve.
That's right. And
I know the system works. It worked for me. It works for John. And we're so happy to be here to be able to share these ideas. And we will be back next week. And I believe, what were we doing? The knowing?
Yeah, it was the knowing.
Faith, We're going to do about the knowing doing gap.
Yep.
When you're not doing what you know how to do, it's your subconscious, your programming is stopping you. We're going to show you how to overcome that. And since we're still on, Bob's favorite quote: if you can tell me what you want, I can show you how to get it. If you do exactly as I say. So, John, this has been fun today. I always enjoy our weekly chats here.
Me too.
And we have a clock up in the corner, and we're at 30:30. So I hope they don't charge us more for going past our 30 minutes.
PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.